Hello, dear participants of the ENGRAVE conference. My name is Kristīna Veidemane and I will be presenting a brief overview on the ENGRAVE activities in the field of capacity building and involvement of stakeholders to enhance landscape and green infrastructure planning in lowland rivers across Latvian and Lithuanian border. Our approach in work with stakeholders are based on the concept of public participation established by implementation of the EU Water Framework Directive. The Water Framework Directive guidance outlines the three forms of public participation with an increasing level of involvement: information supply, consultation, and active engagement or involvement. Information supply is defined as activities to provide information to general public, citizens. Mostly it is implemented by authorities and agencies. Nevertheless, also NGOs take active role in supplying and disseminating information relevant to general public or specific target group. Administrative bodies consult people and interested parties, stakeholders, to learn from their knowledge, perceptions, experiences, and ideas. Consultations are used to gather information or opinions to receive feedback on developed draft documents. Active engagement or involvement implies that stakeholders are invited to contribute actively to the planning, giving advices, proposals, or implementation processes. For example, committing and carrying out agreed measures. During the ENGRAVE project, we prepared and supplied information, organized consultations, as well as performed river restoration activities with involvement of local people. In order to involve successfully stakeholders, we had to raise our capacities and to communicate actively. Three different types of capacity building activities were implemented during the ENGRAVE project. We started with an organized study visit to England, Manchester region in the beginning of the project. Then we organized a training on how to integrate nature conservation aspects into landscape planning and planning of green infrastructure, as well as assessment of ecosystem services. The last but not least, we organized a cross-border workshop on landscape planning, integration of ecological, social, cultural, and economic aspects. This event had a lot of outdoor activities, including observation of amphibia works in the river Morsa. These three events were primarily targeted to the project partner organizations. That was a condition of the project proposal and program. Nevertheless, we also invited larger group representing different stakeholders, national, regional, local authorities, and agencies. Now I would like to present an overview on what we have reached by the capacity building activities. The pie diagram shows that representatives of the project partners were the main target group of the study visit, whereas the workshops involved larger audience from other organizations in Latvia and Lithuania. In order to evaluate the project activities, we made a small survey among the key partner representatives. They ranked the study visit to UK as most effective format to learn the new subject: river management, green infrastructure, landscape planning. That was followed by workshop and then by training. The conclusion is that people like active events, including outdoor visits, direct communications with people at the sites, instead of having indoor lectures and computer-based exercises. We also asked the partners to identify which knowledge they gained most from these capacity building activities. It turned out to be about green infrastructure. It is rather self-explanatory, as the concept is rather innovative not only in our countries, but also in Europe. We are pleased to hear that people learned also about other planning or technical aspects. Bearing in mind about opportunities for future cooperation, we also asked partners to identify the aspects which were not sufficiently covered. The picture on the right side of the slide shows that additional effort shall be dedicated to the financial, economic and cost aspects related to the implementation of the green infrastructure measures. Capacity building or knowledge sharing and transfer was also ensured through organized meeting of stakeholder panel. The panel is seen as one of the tools for cooperation between countries for supporting local and regional authorities in making effective planning and implementation of measures for better environment, rivers and landscapes. We must admit that Latvian stakeholders were more active, but this is most probably due to having project leadership and key content leadership in Latvia. We are glad to see the diverse composition of stakeholder groups, particularly regional and local authorities, have been most engaged so far. Our last panel meeting will be held online on 21st April, and we will also discuss about continuity of the sharing our knowledge, approaches and different good practices in the field of landscape and green infrastructure management in future in the region. Various public events, which had also educational elements and opportunity to transfer knowledge on the challenging issues, contributed to raising our capacities too. During the elaboration of the Zemgale Regional Landscape and Green Infrastructure Plan, several events were organized. These events demonstrated great collaboration and synergies between researchers from universities and local and regional planners. The researchers presented innovative approaches and methods on one hand, whereas local planners provided input, shared their local knowledge. Both parties discussed various actions and recommendations for landscape management in the region. With this slide, I would like to point out some of the activities that ensured the information supply and consultations with stakeholders. In communication activities, we wish to raise awareness about the topic as such, as well as to increase visibility of the project actions. The information was published mainly in digital way to ensure wider coverage of the audience. The project was implementing several planning cases, regional and local. During the drafting stage of the thematic or special plans, consultations or public hearings were organized to ensure also compliance with national regulations on public participation. These activities are rather conventional. Nevertheless, they are very, very essential to ensure transparency of the processes and that people's concerns are taken into account. The ENGRAVE project is in its finalization stage, and already now we can see about the needs for future. Still, some challenging issues to be solved in the region. The project partners have prioritized most actual issues for themselves in this moment. As you can see, there is a necessity to obtain more knowledge about investment options in green infrastructure, as well as to have better understanding about river ecosystems, their functionality and natural processes. Finally, all public participation and capacity building activities depend on active contribution and engagement of the people, each individual. I'm glad to see that ENGRAVE partners are ready to provide different inputs for future capacity building activities in our cross-border region or a different level of cooperation. People are ready to host events, to provide lectures or share knowledge and experiences, but most they would also like to participate and learn more about the subject in future. It is pity that we were not able to meet in face-to-face event in lovely castle of Biržai in Lithuania. But I hope we will have such opportunity in future. In case you have further interest in our activities, or you have ideas and proposals for joint activities or projects in future, please feel free to contact us. We wish you all the best and thank you for listening to me and other speakers of the conference.